everybody, it's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's comedy drama Sisters, Season 7, Episode 3, Grand Openings and Closings. And before we get started with the craziness of this episode, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Help a sister's channel grow for the new year. It's 2024 and I want to do much bigger and much more. Hey! So this episode starts off with Andy coming into the law firm and being met at the door by Fatima. 1, she's late. 2, she got a slit up her thigh that is inappropriate for the workplace. I had to get that in there because when I saw her, I said that slit is way too high for her job in her office. Maybe if she was a cocktail waitress at a strip club, but really, let's roll that slit down at least 12 inches. I mean, seriously. I said, I'm sorry, y'all. The episode just started and I'm going it. Y'all know me. So anyway, Andy gets in there and Fatima updates her on what's going on with Gary, and Andy's like, oh my God, like he's an astute businessman. She's like, he's a hot mess. He got all this stuff going on, Andy, so roll it back. And she's like, well, I should be good, right? And I said, yeah, you thought he was astute. Now you worry about, are you good or not? And then they're talking and Hayden rolls up with his little slithery self, putting his arms around them. And they're like, get off of me, you know? And they're like, you and your partner going down. And he's like, no. Nobody in here had more dealings with Gary than Andy. And Andy was like, no, you did. He said, well, the FBI came to my house and I told them everything I know. And so Fatima's like, oh, so you're snitching now. And he's like, no. He said, I told him everything that we were doing, which was on the up and up. She said, well, I'm good. Andy said, he said, are you sure? And, you know, Fatima did ask her about the penthouse in the car. Was it in her name or his name and all this stuff? You know, so all of this going on. But Hayden said, when I speak to the partners, you know, I'll let them know what I know. And I won't mention your name. And when you speak to them, hopefully you won't mention my name. So Andy said, fine, deal. He said, thank you. But he did say, when a bunch of old white rich men start running around crazy, you know somebody's going to get thrown under the bus. And he told Andy she looks like a prime victim, you know, the type of person that they would do it to. And, and she was like, oh my goodness. But she said okay about that. And then he walked away. And I was like saying to myself, oh, he must be scared. That's why he asking her to do this. And then Fatima said, oh, yeah, he's scared. And I was laughing because I was thinking the same thing. But then doesn't this clear up that he and Gary did not take over the business, over the law firm business? Because I don't know. If he and Gary had taken over it and was doing some shady stuff, Hayden would be going down with Gary as well. But he's not. So now we know that he and Gary did not take over that law firm. Anyhow, next we have Danny vacuuming and cleaning up the house and stuff while Tony is in bed. And he finally gets up and is like, what are you doing? Like, why are you making noise and stuff? And she's cleaning the house and she's getting mad because condom packages are laying around on the table. How you opening up a condom package in the bed and it ends up on the dining room table? I don't know. Anywho, so she's saying that she got called the lady, the therapist, and she's on her way over. And she's like, you want to help me clean up because I'm trying to clean. He's like, oh, you're doing a fabulous job. He said, you're cleaning up like you running a bed and breakfast or something. He said, the place looks nice, you know. So Tony tells her to relax and she's here to help her and not to judge her. She said, everybody judges, even if it's just a little bit. He said, please do not go in there with a mindset like that. Okay, just relax. She's here to help. And she's like, fine. So he finally leaves. And then I swear the lady came like 5 minutes later to the door. And all I kept thinking is that Tony would have been in the bed when that lady came if he didn't get up from the noise from the vacuum cleaner, her cleaning and stuff. I said, why didn't she have him up and wake him up and everything, get him out? You know, he would have been there undressed in the bed. What if the lady needed to use the bathroom? You know, all this stuff was going through my head like, this scene makes no sense. She should have said, get up, get up. I got this lady coming. I need you to get up and go and, whatever. Anywho, the therapist is telling Danny to relax, and Danny, she can't be. She said, oh, no, I'm okay. She said, no, because every time I ask you a question, you answer it with a question. She said, let's start with, why did you seek therapy? And she said something about mimosas or whatever did she say it was? And she was like, are you trying to stop drinking them? She's like, no, it's the mimosas I was drinking that my friends talked me into calling a therapist. She said, well, if are you close with your friends? She said, yeah, tight like sisters. She said, well, then I would think that if they're asking you to go see a therapist, they see something that you're not seeing. And maybe they really care about you. If that close, they care about you enough to have you go and see a therapist. So the therapist told her, let her know when she's ready to talk, because Danny wasn't saying anything. She said, is it that you think you don't need a therapist? And she said, actually, no, I don't think I need one. She said, well, as long as you are feeling that way, it's not making sense, because right now you would be wasting my time and wasting your money, because you have to want to go into therapy yourself for this to work. And I said, that's a good point. And she left. Now we at the salon. Pam and Karen are talking, and Karen is wondering where her friends are, because they were supposed to come early and help her. And Pam is like, don't worry, it's a fresh start salon, or whatever. And then all of a sudden the lights go out. The lights go out, and they're like, what is going on? So some lady walks in, and Pam is like, we're not open yet. She said, you may not be opening. And she lets Karen know that the bill wasn't paid for the mortgage for that month or something like that. The renting of the space for the month. She said she was the building owner. And I said, hold up, wait a minute. I thought the whole purpose of Karen moving to that spot was she was buying this building. She was buying the space because Brian was saying it's the same as her renting from that other guy. She could buy this space and pay the same monthly rent, but she would own it. And I'm so confused right now with what is going on, how these new writers has changed it, that now this black woman, this sister, can't own a building, because there's a lot of black women around here who own buildings, mainly in Harlem. The Sylvia's Soul Food Restaurant in New York, a very famous spot. Presidents and everybody, dignitaries have eaten there. Miss Sylvia bought that building. Matter of fact, she bought all the buildings on the block. Okay, and now her kids and grandkids are running the restaurant because she has since passed. But why did they take that away from Karen, where she doesn't own the building? Somebody put that down in the comment section, because it's messing with me right now. And as far as this scene with this lady saying that the reason that the lights are out is for insufficient funds, baby girl, first of all, you're supposed to give notice and let the person know. You don't just slam off the electricity and think that's the way things are run. There are laws, rules, legalities, things you have to do before that happens. You're supposed to serve the tenant with a late notice, letting them know that the rent hasn't been paid. And you're supposed to give them some time period, like 5 days, to get it paid, else you have to go to court. It's little things like that. What she just did, that's illegal. I don't know, maybe the laws are different in Georgia, but here in New York, it don't go down like that. But I'll be honest, when Karen said there should have been money in there to cover it, I don't know why it wasn't covered. And I saw an expression on Pam's face. I said, Pam is using her credit card, ordering stuff, and Karen is not paying attention to what Pam is doing. She should have been taking her credit card away from her. When she was asking Sabrina for that extra loan money, she said, Pam keeps ordering stuff for the salon that we don't need. You should have taken the card away from her then and stopped her from doing this. But later on, we find out that was the issue. Pam had ordered all this stuff, and Karen called that finance delivery guy to come back and take that stuff that Pam bought so she could get her money back. And Pam was like, oops, and all of that stuff. And she said, it won't happen again. And Karen said, I know it won't, because I cut you off and you have no longer access to it. I said, that was good. But then that guy was checking Karen out again and stuff. I don't get it. But he's like, let me know. And he's, if you need my help for anything else. And he told her congratulations on her, grand opening. And she's like, thank you. And of course, he made a comment like, I don't want your baby daddy saying nothing to me. And Pam yells out, she's single. She's like, shut up, Pam. But Karen did look cute in that dress. Now, that dress was beautiful. That was a beautiful maternity dress for her to wear. Thank you, Lord. I'm glad they didn't have her looking all busted and crusted and looking like an old hag, because maternity clothes are fierce these days. So y'all better stop dressing my girl Cameron like that. Thank you. So now we got Gary calling Hayden for help, and Hayden like, I can't talk to you on the phone. I could lose my job just by talking to you. And he's like, I need your help. I need your help. He said, yo, I can't. You got the FBI at my door and all this stuff. He said, I can't get involved. I'm not doing federal time for you. He said, I always knew you were a little selfish little rat or something like that. He called me. He said, who you talking to? He said, I'm talking to you, little man. I said, oh, snap. He's like, you know what? Fine, Bernie Madoff. But he did tell Gary, he said, look, he said, I thought what you was doing was legit. So all that BS Hayden went out in that hallway saying to Andy and Fatima was a bunch of bull. And isn't that something? It was a bunch of bull. So then he hangs up saying, I don't have time for his BS today. And then he said, or yours. And the camera turns around and it's Tamara. I said, see, I kept asking what happened to her. The excuse they were giving when Gary was sitting there in Hayden's house with him, and he's like, oh, girl took my good stuff and stuff. I said, but they're not giving us an explanation. What happened? Did she leave him? Did they get divorced? Did he throw her out? What happened? And now we see here, she's trying to make things right. We were good together. Yeah, at first, they wanted me to get information out of you. She said, but I didn't know I was going to fall for you the way I did. And she said, I know you miss me. And he said, yeah, I did miss a few things about you. She sat up on that table and opened her legs the desk, opened her legs in front of him and had one foot out over his shoulder, and he took off the shoe on the other one and was rubbing her feet. And I was like, okay, you got people running around with nonsense going on, partners in there, and you got this woman who's probably still your wife sitting there on the table about to do what? But he was happy. You saw how happy he was. So, I'm hoping they get back together and could work things out. And although Hayden was saying it was a bad idea, he know he want to take her back, especially when Tamara was looking hot. You know what I mean? So now we have Fatima and Andy in the office talking, and Fatima's asking Andy if she took care of some of this stuff that she and Zach need done for little Michael. And Fatima's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, I'll get it done and all this stuff. And she's like, are you going to Karen's grand opening? She said, maybe I shouldn't leave. She was like, maybe that's what you need to do to just clear your head. So she said, okay. And she said, just keep your phone with you, so if anything happens, I could call you. And she said, okay, great, thanks. Then they switch over to the bank, and Rich is in line waiting for Sabrina. But Paige was the next available teller. And Paige, when she looked up and saw him, she kind of mumbled to Sabrina, oh, cutie in line next. And she goes, next customer. He said, no, I'm waiting for her. So she got, and she called the white lady over. So Sabrina is talking to Rich, and I'm like, y'all are being ridiculous. Y'all need to stop talking your personal stuff at the bank, between the bank teller window, like she can't hear what y'all talking about. And I'm like, Sabrina, you're supposed to be the supervisor or manager of this branch. You need to start acting like it and telling your boyfriend, look, dude, do not do this at my job. You could have called me. You could have texted me. But she's going back and forth. And of course, Nosy Paige is the one next to it. She's hearing everything. But she's so busy in their business hearing everything while she's still supposed to be dealing with that customer in front of her. And she was like, well, I can't talk right now. I have to talk later. And Paige goes, better his job than yours. I said, look, Sabrina, if you know what you're dealing with, check the brother, okay? Because Nosy here, this white woman, is going to be a pain in your butt. We already done seen her bother you 3 times since the season started. Anywho, now we have Danny show up to the salon. She's late. She was supposed to get there early to help Karen decorate. Then who came in? Sabrina came in late, and then Andy came in. And Karen got this attitude, and Sabrina's like, did I miss something? And everybody's coming in talking about their issues. It was a day from hell. Danny's talking about how she had her first therapy session and now she got to talk to Tony about it and how she sabotaged it. Sabrina's talking about how she asked Rich for his sperm and she really meant it. It wasn't the mimosas. Then we have Andy coming in talking about, oh, the law firm is in an uproar because Gary's being invested by the FBI and they're talking about each other. And Karen's like, no. She's like rolling her eyes up in her head. No, we're not going to do this right now. Not today. Not today. None of y'all could be here early and stuff, and be here to help me like you promised. And I think my friends would be here early for me. And now y'all just talking about all this stuff. They like, but we always do this. She said, not today. She said, maybe I should just pour y'all a drink and y'all could give me all that energy y'all gave Fatima at the brunch. And they like, oh, Danny's like, that's what this is all about. And she said, yeah, y'all looked all happy in the picture you posted on social media. And she said, look, Karen, I asked you. You said no. I called you on the phone. You cussed me out and everything, and they're like, we're sorry. They start apologizing. There they go, pampering her again. It was her day, but they apologized to her and everything. Then it flipped over real quick to the parking lot where Zach was pulling up in his car, and he's in the car trying to figure out how he's going to say congratulations to Karen and hand her the flowers and then ask for a DNA test. Stupid. Why would you do that, Zach? What? Even if you was the dumbest idiot in the world, you would know not to come to somebody's ribbon opening or grand opening, ribbon cuttings, whatever, and ask for a DNA test with all these people around. That sounds so stupid. I don't know why they made him that way and gave him those lines. It make no sense. But while he's in the car trying to figure out how to do it and say it, can I get a DNA so I can get Fatima off my back? I wish you would say that. How stupid that sounds. Fatima did nothing but care about you and try to help you and lead you in the right direction. And you talking about so you could get Fatima off your neck or back or whatever? Boy, please. But at this point, Miss Lisa jumps in the car and she's like, Zach. And she's like, what you doing here, Miss Lisa? She said, the question is, what are you doing here? Why you got these flowers? He said, I was just trying to be nice so you could further confuse my daughter. You was like, why would you do that? You're smelling good, you're looking nice, and you come with a dozen roses. What do you think that's going to do? She needs flowers from somebody who's not in a relationship. She said, you made it very clear to my daughter that you don't want to be with her. So you shouldn't be here. And he said, Miss Lisa, I was just trying to be nice. She said, I get it, but you need to just go home. Send her a text saying congratulations, and you could be nice that way. But I got a question for you, Miss Lisa, from Barbie J. Where's Aaron? She had a man who was available. She had a man who wanted her. He wanted her. He wanted to raise her child. He didn't care if it wasn't his. But what about that? You're not saying anything. She did mention boundaries, and boundaries are important. She's right about that. But Zach got to remember that stuff. But they need to tell us what happened to Aaron. I know Karen said she didn't want to be involved with him anymore, but you can't tell me he's not still around lurking in the background. He has to be around. Who they gonna make? They gonna make Zach the baby's daddy? I guess that's what Karen is believing now. So I guess that's what it's going to be. So now we have Penelope sitting in Gary's office and he's doing all the BS to her about he's so sorry for what he did. Thanks for agreeing to come here. She said, well, what is it? The wine and the flowers were a nice touch. And he's like, I really don't know what I did. I brought you some food from your favorite restaurant. Just the BS he's doing. And so she's like, she's not hungry. And she said, this doesn't change anything. And he's like, I know, I am so sorry. And while he's talking to her, he's opening up the food. He's opening up the container and he pretends to accidentally spill it on her dress. And she's like, oh my God, my dress. And he tells her, oh, there's a bathroom down the hall where you could clean up and stuff. And she goes out and leaves her pocketbook. And it's so funny. The first thing I said is, how come she didn't take her pocketbook? Usually women got to run to the bathroom. They grab their pocketbook because there's something in there to help clean it or whatever. But she left it there. As soon as she was going, that man opened her pocketbook, went through it, grabbed her wallet, took all her credit cards out, looked like at least 6 of them, and started taking pictures of them all. And then he takes them all, put them back in her pocketbook, and sits back on the desk where he was and act like he's pitiful and sad. I said, what the bleepity bleep bleep bleep? What is wrong with Gary? There is nothing right with that man. He is sick. He is totally sick. And anybody who's a Gary fan and think that he's okay, they are sick too. I don't even know what else to say no more. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta take a few deep breaths. Woosa, woosa, woosa. Ooh, because that damn Gary pissed me off just now. But the only thing strange about what he did is he took a picture of the front of the cards. You also need the picture of the back of the cards because they all have that security code that you need. So, Tyler Perry, as a person who uses credit cards often, I know that you can't do anything without those cards without that security code on the back. So, y'all messed up in this scene right there. Next, it's the ribbon cutting and the grand opening. And I don't see Miss Lisa nowhere around. So they go inside and the girls are sitting there talking. And Danny's talking about everybody else need therapy too. Y'all talking about I need it, y'all need it too, or whatever. And Karen comes over and says, I know y'all talking about me. And they said, just a little bit, and then she mentions that she knows she was hard on them earlier, but she feels she was valid. But at least y'all showed up like some other people didn't or something like that. And she was talking about Zach. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's right. I guess he should have used. She said, I'm carrying his child. And then Sabrina's like, well, it seems like you do want him here. Because she said, I don't want him here, but at least I thought he would show up. And that's what and they're like, they're pampering her doing. Again, they doing all of this. I know it's her special day. But when Sabrina said, it sounded like you want him there. Andy's like, don't say nothing. I was like, y'all need to stop with that. Let it go. So they gave her the gift that they bought for her and said how proud they were of her. And then the phone rings. And it's Andy's phone and she answers it and it's a business call. It's Fatima telling her she heard them mentioning her name. So she's like, I gotta go. So she bounces. Then we switch over to Sabrina and Rich. They're in this new shop, I guess. I don't know if he's the owner of the shop or the manager of the shop, but they have done renovations and they're meeting to talk about, what Sabrina said the night before when she had those mimosas. Or he called her Mimosa Sabrina because he did mention he wanted a chance to hang out with Mimosa Sabrina. But I think the stuff she was saying out of her mouth was what scared him. And she said, oh no, she's not to be trusted. We can't do that. But anyway, what they were talking about is she's letting him know that since she was a little girl, she wanted to have kids. She knew she wanted to be a mom. And he's saying, because he has 8 siblings, that means there's 9 of them. He's the oldest. He's been taking care of kids and his siblings' children. He got nieces and nephews all his life. So she said, I get it. You want your freedom and stuff like that. But as she was saying is, I don't know, if it makes sense with me spending time dating somebody who doesn't want what I want. And he's saying, so what are you saying? And she said, I don't know what I'm saying looking at you like this. She said, I do like you. And he said, I like you a lot, a real lot. And he says, more than I've liked anybody in a long time. And she says she likes him too. So he's saying they're trying to make this deal. He's saying, we don't know what the future holds, but if we see a future with each other, maybe we should try to see and ride it out. And maybe the future look a little different than we imagined it. And I said, somebody's going to get hurt. And that's what Sabrina was trying to say. Somebody might get hurt at the end because y'all building a strong relationship. And when we get there, he'll still be saying, I ain't having no kids. I told you that from the beginning. That's what would happen. And she will resent him for it. And she's going to be hurt and mad at herself, thinking she should have jumped out when she had a chance in the first place. And then he made her this promise that he'll make sure each day is not a day that she regret, sticking it through. And I said, you can't make no damn promise like that. Boy, please. So Rich said he was more than okay with sticking it out to see if they had a future. And Sabrina was like, okay, I'm down. But I have a feeling Sabrina's going to be the one who gets hurt more than anybody. Now we have Zach getting home, and Fatima's coming down the steps. He's like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "I had to come home and get my flats. Gary's being investigated by the FBI. They got nonsense and craziness going on in the job and stuff." And she's like, "Oh, who are these flowers?" And he's like, "Oh, they nothing. They're nothing. What?" And he said they were for Karen's salon opening. Fatima looked at him like he was crazy. And she basically said the same thing that Miss Lisa said, because she said that they need boundaries and things like that, and it would be probably confusing for Karen because you coming in there with a dozen roses and stuff. And she said, "Well, what did she say?" He said she didn't say nothing because Miss Lisa stopped me, in the parking lot and told me to go home. And she said, "I agree with her." And then Fatima said, "You coming up there with them ugly flowers," and she hit them out his hand and they flipped and hit the floor. And he said, "Oh, you thought they were nice flowers when you thought they were for you." So basically, he said he didn't tell her because he's trying to get it done himself and not involve her, that he knows how Karen is and she's going to get mad and, yada, yada, yada. And she said, "I know she's going to get mad and I appreciate you trying." And he said, "Thank you." He said, "I'm just trying to do the right thing, you know." And Fatima said, "I can't take this ish." And he said, "She's carrying my child." She said, "We haven't had a test yet, so we don't know that." So he said he'll go and ask her again. And she said, "Well, when you go back, go empty handed." Then he tried to kiss her goodbye. And she was like, she gave him like a fist bump, let him kiss her fist. I said, "Oh, snap." She like basically punching him in the mouth now. So then Zach takes out his phone and he calls Gary, but he couldn't get through to him for some reason. So I said, I hope he didn't do business with him because Fatima did warn him about doing any kind of business with Gary. So he goes upstairs talking about he can't catch a break. So now we have this scene in Gary's office with this guy. I don't know what his name is, Cousins or Hudson or whatever. He's on a computer doing something while Gary's walking back and forth talking about how everybody's ungrateful, hated, and Andy, and he can't stand it. She don't even answer her phone. She's selfish, all this stuff. And Cousins go, or Hudson, whatever, he goes, "Done. Penelope's insurance has been updated and you have access to all her accounts." I said, "Damn, Gary. Gary is trifling. He ain't worth 2 cents, y'all. I'm sorry." But then it ends with Andy getting to work and she's talking to Fatima and they try to reach Hayden to find out what happened. And Hayden sends a text. He won't answer his phone, but he sent a text saying, "I'm pretending to be working," and that the meeting went well and that Leland brought up her name a few times. So be on the lookout or something. Watch out. So Fatima's asking her, "Do she have a plan of action?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell them the truth." She said the whole truth, and she put up this story together. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was partially. And she said, "I don't know if that's gonna work." She's like, "You don't think so?" And she said, "Well, there go Leland right there." She said, "Oh, get him, bring him in." She said, "You sure?" And she bring him in to talk to him. And Mr. Leland starts talking to her, and he starts getting in Andy's behind and said he was going to tell the partners everything he's saying to her right now about the way she acts and behaves, and she has brought this problem into their business because of her dealings with this her boyfriend Gary. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Leland, we had some dealings, but that was way back." And he said, "It doesn't matter." And she said, "I'm the best thing that ever happened to this firm." And he said, "I'm not talking about that. Your what you doing?" He said, "I'm talking about your not her ethics." What did he say? Oh my God. He said, "The respect that I have for the work you do and stuff, and your sleazy ways you come in here and stuff." She's like, "Mr. Leland, I am not going to stand here and let you talk to me like that and stuff." And he said, "I'm going to tell." And he started talking, and you saw him, all of a sudden, he was out of breath, and he started to clutch his chest, and he fell to the floor. Mr. Leland had a heart attack up in the damn office. I said, "Oh, my Lord." She's like, "Oh, Mr. Leland, wait." And she said, "Somebody call an ambulance. Mr. Leland's having a heart attack." And it went off just like that. So y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. I'm sorry this review was so long, but I just had to comment on every little thing that was going wrong that I didn't like or did like about this episode. So y'all put it down in the comment section what y'all thought, and your girl Barbie J will see you all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Peace.